this week we're going to show you how to put up a double pair of gates. Keep on watching.
Okay, so a quick disclaimer. As you can see in my Instagram post, we fitted this gate well before any lockdowns came into place, hence why there's no social distancing. And if you're not following me on Instagram, then why not? Anyway, when my parents originally bought the property, there was a smaller double gate here, but we found the opening wasn't very wide for modern day cars. And back in November 2019, I showed you me knocking down the bricked pillar, filled the gap with cement, put the block paving back, and my parents used the brick layer they've always used to rebuild the pillar further away. And then I came back a few weeks later to help and learn how to install wider 5 feet metal driveway gates that they'd also acquired. And the first thing we needed to do was work on the mounting strips, which fixed to the brickwork. And we needed to cut that down with a hacksaw to about the same height as the pillars, so it's a workable size. Unfortunately, it also meant that the new cut clashed with a screw hole, so I had to drill a new hole further down. This is definitely not a quick job. I also learnt that we needed to create a clearance for the bottom of the gate so we knew it could be opened fully. This driveway does have a slight slope, as I'm sure many others out there do. And to get that, my dad laid down a strong, straight structural piece of timber on the floor and used another piece on top to check to see if it was level. We then positioned that top piece inwards to mimic the gate being opened and used the spirit level again as a starting point from the gate side. Then we could get the spirit level right to find out how much clearance we'd have at the furthest end, which was about 1 inch. So this also told us that the gate can't really be any lower than the structural timber depth. We also held the hanging strip to the pillar, lined them up with the gate while the gate is resting on the straight timber. We positioned the strip roughly about the centre of the pillar, then marked where the middle screw hole was with a drill bit before properly drilling. And we'll get the whole thing straight in a minute. I drilled about 4 inch deep using an SDS hammer drill. I know, I should be wearing goggles and ear defenders. Then I attached the first strip using a combi drill on gear setting 1 and screwed on with a masonry screw. Now that's attached, I then used a spirit level to make sure it was straight and then repeated for my next 2 screws. So now that's on, we could hang our first gate. And you can see it's sagging in the middle. So to start off with, my dad slackened the bolt on the outside of the upper part of the gate to allow him to tighten it from the other side. And then I tightened the bottom one and checked to see if it would open with the clearance. We also used a spirit level to check to see if it was hanging straight, which meant another adjustment for the top to lean a bit more towards the pillar and the bottom to come away slightly. I was asked to slacken the bottom inner one completely and tightening it on the other side while my dad is keeping it level. And to match the first gate, we found we needed to prop this up on something to get them to match, and a spirit level laid flat did the job. We lined it up with a hanger strip and repeated marking the middle screw hole with a drill bit. But before we drill that, we then drew a level line, went back to the other pillar to take the measurement of where that strip started and copied and transferred it to the second one. And I'm drilling another 4 inch deep hole. And screwing the hinge strip with a spack screw again and repeated for the top and bottom. So great news, the height of gates matched perfectly, but it still needed winding in a bit as they weren't close enough to each other for the latch to hook on and stay closed. This meant slacking off the inner bolts and tighten the outer ones. It felt complicated at the time, but as long as one person's pulling it out and checking for level and the other is tightening the outer bolts, it's pretty straightforward. It just takes time and patience. So once we got it where we wanted it, it was time to drill holes for the drop bolts. We lowered them down, then went to mark it on the ground where it needed drilling in the pavers. And I started with a smaller drill bit this time, then moved to a bigger one, but I swirled it around to make sure it wasn't tight. And did the same for where the gates opened. And to stop the gate from being lifted, I drilled a hole in each hinge pin and slotted some mini nuts and bolts in and screwed them tight. which were then spray painted black to blend in. But when the weather is better, I do plan to repaint them and add some cool gold detail on the tops. Anyway, hope you like this one, and I'll catch you again soon.